Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning has finally arrived, and the franchise is now allegedly over for the time being. Unfortunately, it doesn't really get to go out on a high note. The movie's way too long. There's a lot of really dumb stuff, and they screwed up by having the antagonist be an AI that Ethan Hunt can't interact with. But all in all, I still enjoyed the movie for what it was. If you were going to rank it in the series, you'd probably want to put Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning in the neighborhood of MI2 and 3, as opposed to 1, 4, 5, and 6. If you've seen Dead Reckoning, the plot picks up pretty much where it left off. Ethan Hunt has this very special key to get to the AI core, or the entity, as they call it. And that's where the source code is in this submarine that sank in the Bering Sea near Alaska and Russia. And the whole movie pretty much hinges on them getting like 4 different objects all at the same time, and then someone having impossibly fast reflexes to trap the entity before it can nuke everything. The entire first hour of the movie probably should have been like half an hour shorter. The movie's almost 3 hours, and there's a lot of dialogue, and frankly, it's mostly just exposition. There's so much technological jargon that they need to try to justify that you end up with the characters repeatedly just kind of explaining the logistics of everything so you can follow what's going on. On its face, a lot of the explanations you get don't really make any sense. In order to shut down the entity, they repeatedly say they're going to destroy cyberspace, and it's going to completely fuck up society for the entire world. So to me, it sounds like they're talking about kind of deleting the internet and almost resetting us to a pre-internet world, except we don't have any of the analog infrastructure to just carry on, so everyone would be completely screwed. And this is something they reiterate over and over. And if by some miracle there is another movie after the way they blew out the budget with this one, the world is going to be screwed. I believe they filmed these movies at the same time, and it's kind of unfortunate because it might have been better if they had used some kind of time jump and had the AI essentially destroy everything, just infrastructure wise, not like with nuclear weapons. And you could see Ethan Hunt and the rest of his team be forced to be resourceful without all the high tech stuff. Or they could have just fleshed out Gabriel a lot more. He's a very kind of one note forgettable villain, which is a shame because Mission Impossible has a lot of pretty good antagonists throughout the series. Obviously, you have Solomon Lane, you have Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in MI3. You constantly had Ethan going against the other government agencies in all the previous ones. And this one, you're kind of left with these really weird action scenes because there is no antagonist for him to fight or interact with. Gabriel is just kind of annoying and wants to control the entity. And then obviously the entity itself, he interacts with once about half an hour into the movie and then never again. The action scenes that we do get, I thought were pretty cool. The submarine one was pretty neat, and it goes on maybe a bit too long, but it gives you a really good feeling of just dread because he's just in the bottom of the ocean in a submarine, nothing else, and on a timer. And it feels super claustrophobic, and it's really stressful to watch. And the other big one is at the end, where of course you've got them split into like 3 groups, and everyone's got a bunch of shit they have to do. And this is where you get the plane scene that you've probably seen in the trailer. It looks like quite a bit of that was done practically because Tom Cruise is crazy, which is always cool. I want to talk about a couple of the dumb things. One is Luther's death scene, where it's reiterated throughout the movie that they need Ethan Hunt alive because he has the key and can find the submarine and access the core. So Luther is captured by Gabriel, and Gabriel puts a bomb next to him with a timer, but the way to deactivate it, it'll still explode, it just won't be a nuclear explosion. And the whole point is to kill Luther and not Ethan. But when Luther does this, everything around him caves in, and Ethan Hunt still has to escape. So Gabriel literally could have just killed him and not risked killing Ethan, who he has said directly he needs alive. You obviously have a bunch of issues with the AI thing anyway. The whole deleting cyberspace thing is dumb. They give themselves a 100 millisecond window to catch him, which is obviously not possible. So you essentially had to just anticipate, get lucky. They explicitly say that if you go down to the submarine and come up too fast, you get the bends and die, and you can't just hold your breath. You have to keep exhaling to make sure that your lungs aren't full of air and pressurized. So of course, that's literally exactly what he does. and then Haley Atwell just uses her big ass titties to resuscitate him. There's just a lot of really dumb stuff in there that obviously doesn't even get into the fact that the AI in the last movie was able to manipulate their glasses and make people disappear, control pretty much all technology. They gave it way too much power, and you kind of have the problem that you had with Age of Ultron, where it's like you made your antagonist the internet. So any solution you come up with is going to be pushing the bounds of ridiculous. And that's why I said it's kind of a shame that they filmed these at the same time, because they could have tried to adjust if there had been a gap in filming, or do a time jump or a status of the world change or whatever. The other problem is that they say that the AI can calculate infinite possibilities and predict infinite futures and outcomes. So they've not only given it control over like all of technology, they also almost did like a Laplace's demon type thing. Laplace's demon is essentially if you knew where everything was and was going, you could predict the future. Depends on what kind of lore you're looking into, the rules of how that works and the specifics and the time range and all that shit. But for this movie, it seems like the AI can just predict everything. So you've created this entity that has access to everything, knows everything, and then can predict everything. And they're also trying to outsmart it. And a lot of what the movie's going for theme-wise is people coming together and working together and the importance of getting along and putting down your weapons at some point. But it's just kind of a jumbled mess. And they've made the AI too smart for me to believe that would ever be a possibility anyway, that it wouldn't just predict it. We did get some mild fan service for the ladies. Tom Cruise in his 60s looks better than I do right now. Not sure if I should just become a Scientologist. Ving Rhames, on the other hand, is a bigger guy and getting older, and well, I don't want to say he's looking rough, but I'll probably get back into my diet and exercising tomorrow. And we also got a ton of references to the previous movies, and they brought back as many people as they reasonably could. I thought it was kind of neat that they made Erica Sloan the president because she used to be the CIA director. Obviously, that's happened quite a few times in American history, or similar jumps. The movie has kind of a crazy cast. Like, you'll recognize probably every person or almost every single one when they have their big meetings to try to decide what to do about Ethan Hunt and the entity. So obviously all the performances you get are good. And there are some nice little, I think, kind of heartfelt moments near the end to try to send you off with. All in all, it's an adequate ending to an 8-movie franchise. I'm a bit mixed because on one hand, I'd like for it to go out on a high note. On the other, are they capable of a high note at this point? I don't know. You kind of run into the problem where you've saved the world 8 times now, and every single one of them is with 1 second left on a bomb or whatever the case is. So I'm not really sure where you'd go from here, but it'd be cool if they did a more like low level kind of personal story, give it one more go for a good send off. But at the same time, it might be better just to let it rest at this point. I'm gonna leave it there for this one. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think. I try to respond to the comments that aren't just insults, like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.